Hi, everyone, and welcome. Happy to have you here with me in the locker room. I'm Alan Locher, and tonight we're going to be talking about two powerful new books from two debut authors whose work explores some deeply personal themes, including grief, identity, love, and the way our stories continue to shape us long after the moments themselves have passed. Both of my guests tonight have written very honest and moving books that come from very different life experiences, but they share something important in common: a willingness to look at life's most difficult moments with openness, reflection, and courage. We're going to begin with Ellery Capshaw, who many of you daytime fans will remember as Natalie Snyder, Lillian Holden's daughter on As the World Turns. Ellery has written a beautiful debut collection called Three Walled World, a series of poems and personal reflections that look back at her experience growing up inside the world of daytime TV, while also navigating very real life challenges and loss behind the scenes. It's a truly thoughtful and deeply personal book, and I'm really looking forward to talking with her about it. I read it a long time ago already. Please help me welcome Ellery Capshaw to the locker room, everybody. Hey, Ellery.
Hey, hi everyone. Thank you so much for having me tonight.
It is my pleasure. Congratulations. You are like 2 weeks away from your book finally being out.
Yes, kind of officially March 24th. So 2 weeks from today.
That's in. Oh yeah, really it is. I didn't even didn't dawn on me. Take us back. I mean, what do you remember? I know, you were so young when you played Natalie. Do you remember like how the role came to be, auditioning? Did who you met
Yes,
with when you took over the
absolutely
role?
I do. It was such a pivotal moment for me. It was my 10th audition ever. And I got to the building on East 14th Street in Brooklyn. And it's in my book. I wrote about that experience where I was actually auditioning for Faith. And they were like, I think you're a little too young for this. Um, and so when we heard back, they were like, we can't cast her for Faith. She's just too young. But we would love to have her come on as Natalie. And I was like, okay. I was about 9 years old, and it completely changed my life. I mean, then we started going out to the studio a couple times a week, and everything took off from there. And it was so fun.
Well, like I said, a lot of fans know you from that. When did you realize there was a gap sort of between, the bright world that viewers saw and the much darker reality that you were living at the time?
It's really interesting because you get onto the TV set and you're like, whoa, this looks like my house, but there's no wall here, and everything in the fridge isn't real, and the stairs aren't real, and neither's the grass. And you kind of start to feel like, okay, this is the pretend space. And it was really after my father passed away where I realized how out of my hands kind of this whole life was. Because after that moment, I stopped going to As the World Turns. That was it for me. I think it was a couple things. My dad was the one that took me into the city
Hmm.
for most of my time at As the World Turns. And losing that ability to like have a ride, to kind of take me in, as well as I think Natalie needed to age a little bit, or um the show ended shortly after I left, which was really interesting. So Natalie didn't really get to really go anywhere.
Hmm.
Um, but once I kind of had to step into being an adult after that, my perception of everything kind of changed. And when kids at school would come up to me and, where were you in class on Thursday? Oh, I was had a doctor's appointment. oh, well, where were you? And I was like, I'm on a TV show. No, you're not. Yes, I am. No, you're not. And I'm like, okay. And having that pushback from my peers made me feel like, who is Ellery? You know, who am
Mm.
I? I'm Natalie these days of the week, but nobody believes that. And that's my job, is to make people believe I am somebody. And I can't make my 11-year-old peers believe
Int-
that.
Interesting. Well, it's sort of, one of the striking things in the book is the way that Natalie almost becomes a role and a ghost. Did writing the book help you separate Ellery from her, or did it, make you realize how intertwined they still were?
Definitely. I think it helped me realize that I was still holding on to a piece of her, because her and I were so intertwined. We were both an older sister in some way, Natalie to Ethan and I to my younger sister. Like, we were both there's a scene where Natalie has to like kind of shuffle Ethan out of the room because there's tension in the room, and it's like, you know, they're packing for summer camp or something, and Lily and Holden are like, take your brother away. And that happens in my real life when I have to take my sister out of tough situations, or there's a lot of mirroring there. Natalie and I going through things really young with her storyline with Faith, and kind of being the one that tells Luke about her eating disorder, having to kind of witness this trauma of other people and how to communicate that, you know, even though she's this little kid, it's innocent and it's, maybe
Hmm.
benign, but there's something to that. And so
Well,
writing
I can
about Natalie,
imagine what it is like at a young age, because it's such a weird place to be in, really. You write so vividly about East 14th Street, where we filmed, the stairs, the green room wardrobe, and those early morning drives with your father. When you sat down to write, did like those sensory memories come back immediately, or did you have to, dig deep and search?
yeah, I mean, there's some things I could never forget. I could never forget hiding behind that door in the kitchen with the little latch. And I used to sit there and play with the latch and think I was kind of communicating in Morse code to the viewer at home, thinking like, I'm here. And I used to do some pretty silly things on set that got me in a little bit of trouble because I was a kid, and I was like, this is fun. Like, wardrobe is this palace of clothes, and the green room was where like we all got together and spent time together, but also it was like a place where, if you didn't know where I was probably in the green room eating a bagel.
Me too. Me
It
too.
was it was fun, and some things I definitely remembered, like, oh, I'll never forget this. And then some things I had to do some research, so I went back and watched old episodes, and I was like, wow, I don't even remember being here, or I don't remember wearing that, or
Isn't that wild? Yeah.
yeah, there's some things I couldn't figure out how to get into the book, like times we went on location. We went to
Yeah.
like Coney Islands, we went to a summer camp. Um, we did a lot of fun shooting in like New Jersey, and there were some fun things that I couldn't figure out how to get into it. Like, the mom from That 70s Show was a guest star when we were at that camp, and we had to sing, and there was like so many fun things that I couldn't figure out how to get in there. But a lot of the times with the other kids were, I mean, just some of the greatest memories. They were so kind, and we all got along really well.
That's awesome. Well, your dad is everywhere in the book, and you are so honest. He's sort of part guide, part mystery, part wound. How difficult was it to write about him, not just as your dad who you loved, but as someone whose alcoholism and death left so many unanswered questions to a young, woman like yourself?
It's tough. I mean, Writing about my dad is something I have always done. It's something I feel so comfortable talking about because, I describe my grief as like a conjoined twin on the outside of my body. Like, it's there, people have questions about it. Like, it's something I always carry with me, and I'm not ashamed. I'm not embarrassed of it. I'm like, come up, you can ask. You can ask whatever you want to ask. There's no question that makes me feel uncomfortable at this point because it's been so long. Um, my
Remind
dad,
me how old you were when he passed.
I was 11. So this
I
is
mean, that
back in,
is really, really young. I was 33, I think, when my dad passed, and then my mom a few years later. And that still was young.
it's so
But
tough.
I
Yeah.
I can't imagine 11, and I think it's so brave that you were open to letting people ask because uh, people don't know how to deal with grief. People who haven't experienced grief don't know how to necessarily deal with grief. People
Yeah.
like you and I who have had grief, and Ron, who will join us later, who will join me later, it's a different thing, and everyone handles it so differently. But
Right. And
bravo to you to not shy away.
yeah, like for my sister, it's art. And, for all of us, it's something different. But knowing is so important to me because I just don't want to kind of live my life not knowing the truth about maybe who I am or like what I could have the potential to be, which is also in the book as well. And a big reason why I am 5 days shy of 1 year sober, um, which is great. My fiance has been by my side throughout that process, which has been like the biggest support. And we're coming up on 1 year together, and it's just been this great journey of kind of realizing, like, I write about this, that I kind of thought alcohol is like what connected me to my dad. And I think I was so afraid to lose alcohol because then would I lose that connection? Would I lose like kind of how I feel I've inherited him? Things like that.
Mhm.
But it's a beautiful life being sober. I've accomplished so much, had many, many milestones, and have done them
You should be
without.
very proud. That is an amazing accomplishment. I don't know if you uh, dealt with the character of Craig Montgomery on As the World Turns. I don't know if that
So,
character rings a bell, but there is an actor who he started as Craig in the probably 80s, late 80s, 90s, played by Scott Bryce. He had been played by a number of other actors, but he joined me, and he's about 30 years, I think.
wow.
You know,
Yeah. I mean, was like, it was definitely tough in the beginning. Now it's something that I feel like we don't even think about.
yeah.
It's just like, just feels like a part of everyday life at this point. And it
You
just feels really positive.
Well, and talking about both things are really brave, especially being so young yourself. You talked earlier about sort of losing your dad at the same time that they stopped calling, Brooklyn stopped calling. You write that in the book, that after your dad died, Brooklyn stopped calling, and you losing both of them at the same time. Did it feel like a double loss?
Definitely. It definitely felt like, okay, well, what am I doing now? I mean, I had missed a lot of school for As the World Turns, and I felt like, okay, now where do I kind of belong here? Because I was spending a lot of my time in New York, and without that kind of daily routine, I felt a little behind. And I remember missing like my 5th grade graduation, and like nobody signed my yearbook. And I was like so devastated.
Wait, who has a fifth grade graduation? I never
Connecticut.
heard that.
And I was like so devastated. I was like, oh my God, like my life is over. But losing that was huge. And what's funny is that Holden actually like dies like at some point, but he comes back to life. And I just, when I found that out, after I had left that, like, Holden, also Natalie's dad dies, but Natalie's dad gets to come back to life.
Mm.
I was like, how does this happen? And what's more poetic than this is that it's like, Natalie's life is almost like immortalized, and though she can't grow older, she gets to get her dad back and I don't. And
Mm.
so it was this moment of like, I'm jealous of her, but I have to grow up, but she gets to stay young. And I just kind of felt like I needed to like let her kind of go a little bit. And I had
That
this moment,
really is a interesting coincidence of
right?
affairs. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, it really is that, because yes, I mean, at 33, losing my dad, I, wished he could have come back. I can only imagine at your age what
yeah.
that felt like. And
And
then to see it happen to a fictional character who was part of your life, really, you know.
yeah. And a big part of grief, I feel like, is that aspect of, oh, they're going to walk through the door. Oh, they're just on a trip. Oh, that body in the coffin, that's not really him. There's like this, disassociation there where it's like, oh, this isn't real. I'm in the three walls. This is a TV show. This is fake. My life, I was just struggling so much with like, what's my identity? Who am I? Is my life real? And it's like to go through that for like a good amount of my adolescence into my adulthood, I felt so lost. And I think there were like some key people that helped me realize like a good path for me. And then I had some really great friends that kind of helped me step back into the world. And I was like, whoa, the sky is blue and the grass is green and I'm standing on it. And this is crazy.
Tell me the title, which is Perfection. How did you come up with Three Walled World?
So, what's funny is I never ever thought that I was going to write anything about As the World Turns because I was like, nobody wants to hear about this. Like, this isn't interesting. This isn't like, what am I going to say? Like, what am I going to write about this? And when I was in grad school, I wrote one poem that was called Three Walled World. And it was like 5 different vignette stanzas about, there was a green room, there was wardrobe, there was this. And I was like, I just need to submit something. Like, let me just put this in front of workshop and just, this will be my one As the World Turns poem. And when I submitted that, my mentor and thesis advisor was like, so this is what you're dedicating the next 3 years of your life to. And I was like, oh, great. Here we go. So it all came from that one poem, Three Walled World, because really it is like Oakdale, Illinois. The whole entire world of it all happens in that kitchen, in that living, in that space. So it just felt like the whole world. I mean, you go from the kitchen, you turn around, there's the police station, then there's the diner. It just felt like everything and anything could happen right there.
Smart advisor, let me just say that.
Isn't
Very
that so
smart
fantastic?
advisor.
Shoot, I was like, darn it. Ah. And I spent so long going to like old YouTube clips and rewatching all of us and feeling like, wow, I'm wearing cargo shorts and a plaid shirt. And they wanted
That
to
is
get my
great.
ears pierced so bad. I didn't have my ears pierced at the time. And they were like, can you please get your ears pierced? And we were like, no.
The press around the book talks about, the dealing with grief, identity, and the darker reality behind the camera. But it also, feels deeply concerned with performance. Do you think being trained so young to become other people made it harder later, to know how you truly felt when things were happening, the harder
Yeah,
things in life were happening?
definitely. I mean, I carried it through like middle school and high school, definitely, where I would feel sadness. Like I would feel sad. I would cry. I would feel hurt. and I would, display that emotion, and the people that were, displaying hurt towards me would be like, you're just acting. I don't, believe this. You're just a really good actor. And I'm like, okay, so like that's really confusing for me because I'm 13 and so and it was tough because I was like really great in theater, but I was struggling in my relationships, and I had a hard time like keeping friendships and understanding friendships, and especially like romantic relationships, like really understanding what that looks like outside of like a movie that I watched. Like not everything is Mean Girls and John Tucker Must Die and, kind of the media that I was consuming at the time, because you kind of think, oh, well, I know that world because I was in it. And how do I, bring that world into this space? It's confusing. And this is in like the early 2000s when, child stars weren't coming out. Like this was tough. Like people weren't talking about how even, me, not a Disney star, not a big name, but who goes to acting class every Saturday morning for 2 hours every week and who diligently practices scene work and monologues throughout the week. What is that doing to my brain and my ability to understand, well, I'm not Natalie. I'm not really Natalie. I'm really Ellery. And like no one was talking about that. And now we've got people like Allison Stoner and Jeanette McCurdy who are like also writing about this. And it feels great to know that, even me down here, I'm like, I went through that too.
Yeah. And, I mean, it gives some reassurance to know other people are experiencing what you did.
And it's that universal feeling. But being on stage is so freeing. I did like a reading for a play a couple years ago, and it was like, it just felt like so amazing. I like really got into it. I cried. I felt like so emotional with this. It was the first time I had done anything since like high school, and I felt like, wow, like I still got it. And I felt really connected to that experience where I said, now that I know who I am, I can now get into something like a script. I can now feel that those emotions and allow myself to occupy that space and be able to say, okay, and now I'm back.
You mentioned being almost 1 year sober. I was really struck by how alcohol enters the book. I wasn't expecting that. I didn't know it, but it enters not just as a habit, but as inheritance. And that happens for many people, but in the book, it happens as inheritance, escape, performance, and repetition. When did you begin to understand that alcohol was not just part of the chaos around you, but something you were actively in danger, of losing yourself to?
Yeah, definitely like in my earlier 20s, I was living alone and I was in grad school in Illinois, in a small town. And
Oakdale, Illinois.
I was in Oakdale, Illinois, and I didn't really know anybody. I was like entering this new phase of my life, and I felt like alcohol was the way I could connect with people, was the way that I could make friends with people. Was like, I'm like, no one's going to want to hang out with me unless we're drinking, right? And living alone and building unhealthy habits, I was like, okay, I am waking up with anxiety most days. I'm not getting the things I need to get done. I'm just feeling very negative about myself, and it just wasn't a great space. But that's when I was like 22 and I stopped drinking at 27. So it took like 5 years of like getting to that low point for my fiance to say, you got to get your stuff together because you keep saying you want to stop. You keep saying you want to stop, but you don't stop. And I was like, I know, you're right. but it's just like maybe shame, maybe embarrassment, maybe like the fear of losing that, I'm fun when I drink, I'm cool, losing that part.
But did you
Afraid.
also feel it was a connection to your dad?
Yeah, definitely. I was like, I drink to celebrate him on his birthday, on the day that he died, like raise a glass, like cheers. And I just felt like if I drink, I will see him or he'll come to me in a vision. Or it was just like, if I just keep following down this road, I will understand where I came from.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't need to do that. And, finally putting it all down was really, really hard. Like that first month, I think I cried like every day.
Mm.
And it was just so difficult to realize how much I had leaned on it and how much I had felt like I needed it and felt like, well, I can't be myself without it. And, I think everybody in my life can now say I'm a better person, I'm a healthier person, I'm, a more successful person, I'm, definitely like more productive, picked up some healthier habits and drinking more
Good.
water.
Well, that's awesome to hear. Ellery, this is your debut collection, and it doesn't read like someone who is holding anything back. It reads fearless. Did poetry give you permission to tell the truth in a way prose maybe couldn't?
Yeah, I think that's interesting. Poetry is like my best friend that I could say anything to, I feel. Poetry is a space where you can say a truth without necessarily really saying that truth, using metaphors, using similes. I love an abstract image that kind of takes us there, that turns the end of that staircase into this weird liminal space of, the world falls off in that moment. And I think poetry can take you there. And I really needed to go there. I really needed to, throw something at the wall and throw all of it and really open up about it because I can't write this twice.
True, true. Well, by the end of the book, I felt not only grief, but the recovery, reclamation, and a return to yourself. When readers close Three Walled World, what do you hope lingers most? The loss, the survival, or the fact that you found your way back?
Yeah, I hope that people feel like, wow, there's a lot of growth here. Like from beginning to end, it's written in a 3-act play structure. So there's meant to be ups and downs, there's meant to be reveals and turns and surprises throughout it. And at the end, there's this really, great moment where Ellery and Natalie come together, where my dad and I come together in a dream. And really, life goes on after it. Like that's the truth, is that all this stuff happens. We have these moments, they're hard, they're great, and tomorrow we have to wake up again, and we have to hear the dog waiting to go out, you know like, and we have to listen to the alarm clock blaring at 6 o'clock in the morning. Like, I just feel like I've learned so much about what was I holding back, what am I letting go of.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, like, tomorrow is coming and I do want to be a part of it.
Well, I love hearing that. Are you still writing?
Yes, I'm still writing.
Good.
I'm working on, I feel like, a couple different things all at once, which is fun. But I'm really trying to pour some energy into a novel project. So we will
Well, you
see.
have an open invitation. Come back for the next one. Thank you so much for spending this time with us and for sharing your story with everybody. The book again is World. It will be out on March 24th, 2 weeks from today.
Everywhere
Don't
you buy books.
Ellery, you take care and stay in touch.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you so much for having me. Have such a great night.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye. Now, everybody, I'd like to welcome my next guest, Ron Stempkowski. Ron and I actually met because he was a viewer, like many of you, of this show, The Locker Room, and someone I now call a friend, which makes tonight's conversation even more meaningful to me. Over the time, I learned more about his story and the life he shared with his husband, Ken. Ron has written a beautiful and deeply honest collection of essays called The Luck We Carry, reflecting on love, loss, and the journey of continuing life after losing his husband. It's a book filled with heart, reflection, and moments that I think many readers will recognize from their own lives. Please help me welcome Ron Stempkowski, everybody. Hello there.
Hey, Alan. Long
Hello,
time.
Oh, look at that. That was a nice surprise. You're, just shy of 2 weeks. One day, March 23rd. How are you feeling about?
I'm excited. I picked that date because that's the 25th anniversary of when I met Ken. So it just seemed like it all timed out really well. So I'm really excited.
You very well should be. Very well should be. One of the things that moved me so much about The Luck We Carry is that it isn't only a book about grief, but it's also a book about love, humor, creativity, and continuing life. When did you realize you weren't just documenting the loss of Ken, but documenting a life shaped by his love?
Always, really, because our relationship was like that. It was all those things. Even when he got diagnosed twice in 2 years, and the second time was terminal. And even then, we still had creativity and humor. We have dark senses of humor. Grief can be hilarious in the right circumstances with the right person. Ken just made me see the light, made me see life in brilliant color. So it was easy to humor is how I cope. Humor and writing are how I cope with pretty much everything. So it came pretty naturally to kind of tell the story that way.
I think humor helps everything.
I always say humor, like it keeps us limber. It keeps us from breaking. It helps us bend. So I think it's important to use appropriately.
I'll second that. Early in the book, the meet cute is so vivid and charming and alive. Why was it important to begin there with the joy and absurdity of how you met Ken, rather than beginning with, the illness or a grief?
I wanted to start off with the feelings I have about Ken. It was a joyful relationship throughout, and I think it's a great story. It's almost like it was like a TV show, but it really all happened. So I wanted to kind of start on that high and then return to that high, later, and to show people that, I say grief is inevitable if you're lucky, right? So I was very lucky. So Ken had such a grace and a strong spirit about him that, he made me promise to keep writing. He made me promise, to never give up. So I didn't have a choice but to write this book because I waited so long for him. I was almost turning 33. I had him for 10 years. So I wanted to show the joy. Ken was really sparkle and joy.
Well, he was right to make sure you kept writing, because you write so beautifully. The structure of the book is quite thoughtful. The climb, the descent, the ground beneath me, the origin, the return to joy. Did all of that come naturally, or did it take you time to understand that you needed to create that emotional map?
It took a long time because I was writing a whole different version of the book and I thought it was boring. So I had to use index cards of kind of the topics, and then I had to arrange them on the floor. It took me a long time to try to build a compelling structure for the story, but I was really happy with how it turned out. But again, I think it's kind of like Ellery mentioned, like her book has kind of the turns and ups and downs, and I tried to do something similar to bring people on the journey with me, and I hope it worked.
It absolutely, I can tell you, it definitely does. You write so powerfully about, caregiving, especially in the essays around his diagnosis, around hospice, and that moment at 3:12 a.m. What did caregiving teach you about love that I think romance alone never could?
That's a really good question. Ken was an amputee, you know, when I met him. So he had a below his knee amputation. So he had a prosthetic. If he wore pants, you wouldn't know. He was in better shape than I was. But sometimes his leg would hurt and he wouldn't be able to put his prosthetic on. And it took him a long time to let me help him do things. It took, I think, almost a year of us living together. So he was very self-reliant.
Hmm.
And after that kind of changed, and I got to, let me get this for you, let me do things for you. It became kind of natural as we kind of went into the cancer diagnosis. And there's nothing, I think there's nothing more romantic than taking care of somebody, if that makes sense. I loved taking care of him because he was mine. He was mine.
Yeah, I don't have words for that, but you're absolutely right. You know, the way you described Ken before I read the book, even, you know, just some of your posts and us talking, but I admire in the book that he's never reduced to his illness. You know, the way you describe him: funny, creative, opinionated, stylish, alive. Did you want sort of, you know, people to feel his full humanity?
Yes, absolutely. Like, I struggled for so long because I'm like, I need to write a book about Ken. But it was impossible because I write first person and I was there and I wasn't in his head for, you know, for all these thoughts. So it took me a long time to figure out, like, I have to write the book. It's my experience, right? But Ken is all through that book. He's in every essay that I wrote. And it just took me a while to figure that out. He informed everything. So,
Well, he is. I mean, the soiree, the martinis, vampires have been here. I mean,
yes.
he's everywhere. And I think that's probably what helped you survive after.
Yes.
Is looking back on all of that and the humor between you two.
Yeah, and writing about it, and writing about it to remember it too. Not everything that's in the book. I mean, journaling or maybe some blog posts, but writing to kind of memorialize that really, really special, important time in my life that ended to a degree. But, you know, again, I'd waited so long for him. I wasn't willing to let him go and just move on and, you know, think of other things, be happy. I had to immerse myself in it because I loved him so much and I waited again so long. He was my prince. And I came to the realization you don't have to let people go when they die. Now, within healthy limits, of course, but I mean, I still hear his voice. I tell people this all the time. He encouraged me to write the book. I hear the whispers. I hear the you got this, Ronnie. Like, before I joined live here, he was like, you got this, Ronnie. You're going to be fine. His sparkle is really important to me, that people get a little glimpse of it, because if you get it, you're not going to forget it. Anybody who met him for 10 minutes never forgot him. If you ran into them again a couple years later, they knew who he was. He was super handsome, but he was really dynamic, and he really owned having cancer. It didn't define him. He got to do what he wanted. He got to kind of define himself in his own way, and I really respected that so much.
I mean, how many times did he have cancer? His first time was very young.
Before we met, yeah, and then twice.
I mean, it takes a unique individual to be able to withstand that. That's not, I don't know that that's something we all have in us. You know, I hope we could, but
well,
you don't.
I mean, you never know until it happens, and I hope that everybody here.
Correct. Neither one of us ever have to correct. Right. Absolutely. You write a letter from your future self, which is truly one of the most memorable pieces. You write that writing was not just expression for you, but survival. Do you think journaling saved you?
Yes, 100%. You know, Ken was the person I would tell, you know, my problems to, but there came a point when I didn't want to burden him with anything. So my journal became, and I have great friends. Some of them are in the chat today, that I could turn to, but I could say anything in my journal, and just writing, just handwriting. I'm a huge fountain pen person now, but I love that connection to paper. And it's almost like taking feelings out of your brain and throwing them on a table so you can look at them. And maybe like some of the essays, I could rearrange them a little bit and make them something somebody else could read. A lot of my journal entries, nobody will ever read because they're too in the weeds. But writing has always saved me. Writing's always been.
How young were you when you first started writing?
I think I keep thinking it's about 13. It was like if that's 7th grade.
Yeah, about.
In 8th grade, we got to write a children's book. So I was looking forward to that. And it's in the other room. I would have shown it to you. But yeah, I've always loved. I mean, I was a gay kid growing up in Indiana in the 80s, right? I was super tall. I had no interest in basketball, right? So I spent a lot of time with. I think I had it was like a stenographer's notepad, right?
Yeah.
Top with the little line in the middle, and I would journal. I'd write fiction stories or about my day or stuff like that. I've always loved to pour that out. I have a journal entry about today in my journal right here.
I'll live on in infamy there.
Exactly. Well, I can't show you what I wrote about you, Ellen. I'm sorry.
I was really struck by the essay "Widower No More" because it takes on the idea of identity after loss. Was there guilt in stepping out of the identity of widower, even though you knew moving forward did not mean leaving him behind?
Yeah, I mean, I felt I had survivor's guilt anyway. I mean, I felt that really Ken had a lot more to offer the world than I did, and I don't mean I had I didn't have any suicidal ideations or anything like that. I just thought, God, it couldn't have been the other way around. He had so much. He was such a great teacher, but at a certain point, shortly after he died, everyone had to know that I was a widower. I just met. Hi, I'm Ron. I'm a widower, and it just was really important for people to know. I thought, and after a while, it was like let's relax, and I started making new friends, and I didn't tell them, and that's kind of when that whole widower no more thing came. I was just tired of. I was clinging a little bit too close to it, right? I am a widower. I get it. I still am, but it was too close to my. I was holding it too tightly, like white knuckling it. So I had to let it go there for a while.
Well, and you say that he was a teacher. He is still teaching. So even though you think he shouldn't have left, and why not you? But he is teaching.
That's true. That's a good point.
He and with what you have written, he will teach so many more as well. And I will read what Tina said. Ken was and continues to be a beautiful force of nature, love, light, humor, and wisdom. He is a unicorn.
He is a unicorn. Tina knows that very well.
In several essays, you push back against the idea of moving on and instead describe moving with love and grief. Yeah. Is that sort of your central truth of the book for you?
Yes. Grief isn't something you get over, and Ellery could speak to this as well. I think she kind of did. And it's not that people were saying get over it, but I mean, you could tell people stopped asking after a while, and that's okay. But grief is the other side of the coin from love. Like love and grief share they're the same thing. They're just opposite sides. And I refuse to let go of it because, and actually my grief counselor, who's Claire Bidwell Smith, who wrote the foreword for the book, taught me all this when she was coming to visit us weekly. But, great love equals great grief. They're directly proportional to each other. So I took that as a badge, knowing that I was so vastly sad and broken because our relationship was everything and more than I'd ever hoped for. And I know he felt the same way. And I know that our friends, even in the chat, they would agree, the ones who knew me and Ken for sure. So I think grief has to be reframed. It needs like a rebrand because we all experience it. We're going to, and that's not something
everyone will experience it. But like you said, some people stopped asking. I think there are many people who have experienced grief don't know how to deal with grief or speak about it.
Exactly. It's not something we talk about here in the US, right? It's not a. Yeah. I've got my friend Kathy, who's Irish Catholic. I've known her for, I don't know, 30 years. And about every weekend she's going to a funeral, right? Because she's, Irish Catholic. It's a close-knit community. So she reminds me often that I have coined the term, she's a professional mourner her entire life. And we just talked yesterday. She's got 2 this weekend, 2 funerals. But she understands how to do it, like she's been doing since she was a kid. You still talk to people, you engage. Ken's name is not off limits. I bring his name up all the time, when it's appropriate in a conversation, or I won't leave him behind. It's not how I want to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely experienced more loss than many, and parents, having lost both parents, and when I see other people who lose parents, I always reach out because I know how important that was for me to hear from people, and not just a comment on Facebook. Like, I will personally, if I see them post something there, I won't put it in the chat, because it's sort of, whether it's parents or loved one, it's a club we never wanted to be a part of.
No. I think I wrote a blog about that a long time ago. The club nobody wants to belong to. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Nobody. Yeah,
we're all in it. The club keeps getting bigger and bigger because that's just how it works. And we got to be there for each other. We got to talk. If somebody wants to talk about it or is open, let's talk about it.
I mean, talking about loved ones is so important. I think it keeps them alive, like you're doing with Ken. The essays where life quietly reopens, the library book sale, the board invitation, the camping, Cali, even the cacao farm in Costa Rica. Did reinvention sort of sneak up on you, or did you know when you were actively rebuilding?
I think both. I mean, I was really actively trying to, rebuild while still keeping a connection to him. But when I went to Costa Rica, when I went to that cacao farm, but before that, I did a zip line. I think it's the longest zip line in the world. It was amazing. And the first, I think it was 7, zips you had to go down. The first one, I don't know how far it was, but it was like you were in the air for like 3 minutes. It was amazing. And honestly, I'm an atheist, but I felt Ken with me there. Then it was just, it was a new chapter was starting for me, because I left my comfort zone. I left the country with a friend for his birthdays, and that's the kind of stuff he loved. I always called him a body in motion, and I was always very destination oriented. He was always about the journey, which he taught me over and over again. Life is only about the journey. There is no destination. And I think that zipline made me think, yeah, I don't care when I get to the other side. This is so fun. And I really felt him with me then.
And I don't think you have to, you said being an atheist. I think you just have to believe, no matter what. Believe,
Right.
The fact that he, said you got this beforehand doesn't have to come from religion or anything of that nature. It's your belief in him.
Right. It comes from your head and from your heart. Right. That's the most important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's so important that we continue to believe, they're there. My mom is gone. It'll be 19 years this summer, because it's the year I met Ray. But my parents' address and my address growing up was 642. And I'd say in the last 5 to 10 years, I see it everywhere.
Oh, I love that.
I see on the clocks, and it's not something from her passing. It was actually from one of her, I think it was really one of her friends' husbands had passed away, and my sister and I were in the car together, and we saw it on the radio. It was that time, and I've continued to see it. If it's on the coffee pot or on the clock when I'm with Ray, I'll be like, "Mom's watching."
That's fantastic. I love
and
that.
It's just, whatever that is.
Right.
If it's nothing, it makes her feel closer to me.
It just has to be something for you. That's all that matters.
Yeah. And that's what it is. And I think that's, all of this that you describe in your book, hopefully people will take for that same reason. Throughout the book, there's sort of tension, I'd say, between private grief and public storytelling. Was there ever anything you worried was too intimate to share, or did you know that you just wanted to be honest all the way from beginning to end?
Yeah, no, I knew. And I think that really good storytelling involves vulnerability. And that helps people feel like, oh, I've been there. I felt like that too, right? It kind of builds an authentic connection to people because I'm not perfect. I made mistakes as the
We all do. We
vampire
all do.
will tell you. Yes. So
As much as I'd like to think I am, but I am not. Um, who, what authors take you on the journey that you like to take people on?
gosh, who have I read recently? I read this really great book. Oh wait, that's mine. I actually didn't leave them in here, but I actually been reading 2 books of essays that I bought before I started writing this one. Who do I like? I'm blanking.
It's okay. I was wondering if there was somebody. Doesn't, I know I put you on the spot.
Yeah, I asked you questions up front, Alan. You didn't send them like I asked you
to. You know, I told you this off air, but the book will resonate with people, you know, so much. People who've lost partners, also with anyone who has loved deeply and been changed by that love. When readers finish The Luck We Carry, what's your hope they are carrying with them?
Hope. That's what I want them to feel. Hope. If they're experiencing grief and loss, I think I've explained. I think on line I've talked about. But the book's kind of like a map of my journey with grief, and everyone's journey is different. But there are commonalities sometimes, maybe in different order. But maybe somebody might read that book, read an essay, and then I do these author's notes that I wrote later that kind of down, kind of connect the dots. And I hope somebody will say, oh, you know, I feel kind of like that, or I felt like that last week. So I kind of know where I am on my journey, you know, just to give them something, some hope, because it can feel very lonely, and you can feel a little bit lost, especially if nobody talks about it, or you can't talk to anybody about it.
Yeah, and a lot of people can't. People
right.
sometimes don't know how to communicate their own grief. I mean, that's
I write about it better than I can talk about it, for sure.
Yeah, it's so true. Did writing the book change your relationship to Ken or deepen it?
Deepen it, I think. I did that fundraiser last year for his one-man show. I think, and ever since then, it's all just really gotten good and even richer than it was before. And I liked remembering a lot of these stories. And again, my friend Claire wrote the foreword that I just got the other day, and she tells a couple things that I kind of forgot about. So it's just he was a gift, and I won't let it go anytime soon.
What will you be doing on March 23rd?
I took that week off from my day job, and we're going to do some guerrilla marketing around the city. So check your Instas, follow me.
That's awesome.
Join the newsletter, because if you join the newsletter between now and launch day, I'm going to give US only. I'm going to give away 10 free copies of the book.
Oh, that's awesome. Did tell everybody the where they can sign up?
Just go to my website, ronstempkowski.com, or you can same for my Instagram, and you can find it in my link tree. I
lost what I was going to say.
Is Tina distracting you?
No. I'm going to put up, there it is. I spelled it right. Yeah.
Thank you. It's hard.
Guerrilla marketing. Oh, yeah. I know the question was there, I know you shared it with me. You've shared it with a lot of other people. Has there been a response that has surprised you most?
No, which has surprised me, because all of the responses, because I had a lot of advanced readers do reviews, as you know, and I mean, it's the same theme. So it's like, wow, I actually told a coherent story that everybody kind of got, notes of the same thing out of. And a friend of mine in Australia messaged me through Instagram, and she was one of my early readers. She posted a really lovely picture of the book on a table with coffee, and she's like, I'm reading. And then I'm like, oh, I messaged her, I'm like, thank you so much. And she was like, I had to leave the cafe. I was crying too hard because I fell in love with Ken in the first story. So that's what I want. Ken, I fell in love with Ken too. So I think people will fall in love with him.
I love that. I love, I mean, that means you did something right, that you, um,
I hope so.
everybody sort of felt the same way. They didn't surprise you with their comments, because everyone sort of felt the same way about the book.
Yeah, and it was surprising. Honestly, I was really surprised that it was all even keel, all the same notes. I really loved it. It made me really, really happy.
Was there one essay that cost you the most to write?
Letter from the Future always gets me. That's always a hard one to re-edit or reread, because I go back to that moment in the hospital, and a lot happened from when I wrote that to where I am now, or even to when Ken died. So that's always a little emotional for me to get through.
That makes sense.
I can't even read. I mean, I can't read it out loud. It would never be something I can read because it's too much.
What does Ken still sound like in your life right now?
Ken, you don't know, but Ken was a voiceover artist, so he has this really silky, dare I say, sexy voice, and I just hear it. I hear it all the time, no matter what I'm doing, especially when I'm nervous about something. But he's just this force of good, and he was someone who always wanted me to step out of my comfort zone. And I still try. I was an introvert. I didn't have to be outgoing because he was. But then after he died, I'm like, I can't just. I mean, I had to kind of. I think that's part of the graft. The cacao story. Like, I had to graft some of Ken's amazing qualities on myself so I could keep moving forward with him.
Have you thought about what his response would be
to the book?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he would love it. We'd have martinis.
Well, that's smart. Is there a moment in the book you think he would say differently?
I don't know. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. He had read my writing before, so I think he knew my style, and I think that's a really good question. I don't think he would. I think he'd be really proud of me. I did like National Novel Writing Month one year and his cancer had come back. I didn't quite finish the book. It was a horrible novel about witches, but when I finished it, we had a toast with martinis, and then he was kind of homebound, and he had a friend of his come visit the next day, and I couldn't be in the room. And then when she left, she had brought flowers. He'd asked her to pick up a bouquet of flowers for me. So Ken was my biggest fan. He would love this book. He'd have nothing. He'd be all over socials talking about it.
I love that. Ruthie Cakes just posted 3 martini glasses. I don't know if that's
Ruthie.
I don't know if that's somebody but
Ruthie's fantastic.
I'm so glad you wrote this book. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you tuned into the locker room. Cheers to Ken. You can't see, but I have a glass.
Cheers.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. I'm so honored to have been here. Thank you so much for having me.
March 23rd, The Luck We Carry, everybody. Please pick up a copy. You can go online today, right?
Yeah. You can pre-order the ebook today, then the paperback comes out, anywhere books are sold.
Tell us about the cover.
Oh, my friend Shelly Mock designed this cover for me. She's a fantastic graphic designer. And
Did you give her an idea of what you wanted, or that was her?
I told her what the book was going to be about. I kind of gave her some taglines, and then she gave me like 6. This was always the one I was drawn to. And then finally I picked this one, and she did an amazing job.
Well, I know you're going to hear from lots of people of how you help them, because it's a great way for people to approach grief,
Thank you.
write. I wish I wrote more. I did journal for a little period of time, but not anything extensively. But I know how much it has helped people over the years. And I think anything that can help us, we should be doing, in that respect.
I agree 100%.
Absolutely. Well, I wish you much success. And when your next book comes, again, you have an open invitation, my friend.
Thank you. I'll definitely come back.
Good. You better.
Thank you so much, Alan. I love you. It was good to see you.
Same here. Same here. Thanks, everybody. Really, thank you to Ron and Ellery for spending this time. Ron's book, The Luck We Carry, will be out on March 23rd, and Ellery's on March 24th. Join me next Thursday, March 19th at 7:30 p.m. when I will be joined by Rich Burns, Getty Watanabe, James Campbell, and Chuck Sakula from the Humanitas Prize-winning series, The Disappointments. They will all be here talking about season 2 ahead of its premiere on March 22nd. Thank you to everyone watching live and those catching up later. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Turn on the notifications. And remember, if you like an episode, click the like button. It always helps. And you can stream audio versions wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, I do have YouTube memberships now available with exclusive perks and a great way to help keep these conversations going. Thanks, everyone, for spending this time. And as always, please stay safe. And I will see you next time in the locker room.